The Galactic Council, composed of representatives from the most powerful alien civilizations, had long held a dismissive attitude toward humanity. Viewed as a minor, inconsequential species, humans were rarely taken seriously in the grand scheme of interstellar politics. This dismissive stance was never more evident than when humanity announced the creation of the U.S. Eclipse, a superdreadnought designed to be the pinnacle of their military technology. The Council's mockery. The announcement was met with scorn and disbelief. In a highly publicized session, various council members delivered speeches filled with ridicule. Councillor Thos of the Zarnak Republic, a leading voice among the mockers, declared the announcement a desperate attempt by a primitive species to gain attention. Media outlets across the galaxy broadcast these speeches, amplifying the derision. Analysts and commentators joined in, producing countless pieces that questioned humanity's technical prowess and strategic sense. Public humiliation. The humans have always been good at theatrics, said High Commander Var of the Varth Empire during a press conference. But this so-called superdreadnought is nothing more than a fantasy. Their claims are laughable at best. These public statements further cemented the Council's belief that the eclipse was either a bluff or a colossal exaggeration. Personal motivations. Key figures like Councillor Thos and High Commander Var had personal and political motivations for their ridicule. Thos, known for his disdain for any species outside the core civilizations, saw an opportunity to reinforce his xenophobic policies. Var, on the other hand, viewed the situation as a means to rally his empire around a common enemy, enhancing his political capital. Both men underestimated the resilience and ingenuity of humanity, blinded by their hubris and the echo chamber of the Council's elite. Dangerous complacency. The Council's overconfidence led to a dangerous complacency. With the eclipse dismissed as a non-threat, member civilizations relaxed their vigilance. Surveillance and defense measures around key installations were scaled back, and military readiness was deprioritized in favor of economic and political pursuits. The prevailing belief was that no significant threat could arise from a species they considered technologically inferior. The U.S. Eclipse. Amidst this backdrop of arrogance, the U.S. Eclipse prepared for its mission. Hidden in a classified location, the crew of the Eclipse underwent rigorous training. Captain Sarah Mitchell, a seasoned strategist, led the preparations. The ship itself was a marvel of human engineering, equipped with advanced cloaking technology and hyperspeed capabilities, features that had remained hidden from the prying eyes of the Council's spies. Mission objectives. The Eclipse's mission was ambitious and audacious: to conduct a series of covert strikes against the Galactic Council's most critical infrastructure and military installations. The goal was to destabilize the Council's power centers, creating chaos and fear, and forcing them to acknowledge humanity's strategic prowess. The crew's determination. As the Eclipse embarked on its mission, the crew was fully aware of the stakes. Failure would mean confirming the Council's ridicule, but success could alter the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The ship's initial maneuvers were executed with precision. Advanced cloaking devices rendered the Eclipse virtually invisible, allowing it to slip past the Council's reduced defenses. The first strike. The first target was a minor but strategically important communications relay station. The strike was swift and devastating, leaving no trace of the Eclipse's involvement. This was just the beginning of a calculated campaign designed to exploit the Council's overconfidence and lack of security. Setting the stage. As the Eclipse continued its mission, the Galactic Council remained oblivious. Reports of minor disruptions were dismissed as coincidental or the result of technical failures. The true scale and source of the threat had not yet been realized. The Eclipse's crew, motivated by a sense of purpose and the desire to prove their critics wrong, executed their tasks with relentless efficiency. The Council's complacency. The complacency of the Council was palpable. Key installations, once heavily guarded, now operated with minimal security. The belief that humanity posed no real threat had taken root deeply, leading to a false sense of security that the eclipse was poised to shatter. The power shift. The stage was set for a dramatic shift in the galaxy's power dynamics as the U.S. eclipse continued its covert operations, moving ever closer to its ultimate objective, demonstrating the true strength and strategic brilliance of humanity. The U.S. eclipse unleashed. The U.S. eclipse was a marvel of human ingenuity and advanced technology. At its core was a state-of-the-art cloaking system capable of rendering the massive warship virtually invisible to all known detection methods. This cloaking technology was complemented by hyperspeed capabilities that allowed the eclipse to move across vast distances almost instantaneously. The ship could enter and exit enemy territory before anyone realized it had been there. The crew's preparation. The crew of the Eclipse had undergone extensive training to prepare for their covert campaign. Captain Sarah Mitchell, a decorated officer with a reputation for strategic brilliance, led the team. Her second-in-command, Commander Jason Lee, was a tactical genius with a knack for thinking several steps ahead of the enemy. Lieutenant Emily Carter, the ship's chief engineer, was responsible for maintaining the advanced systems that kept the Eclipse hidden and operational. The crew was a well-oiled machine, each member an expert in their field, and fully committed to the mission. First strike success. Their first target was a minor but strategically significant communications relay station. This facility played a crucial role in the Galactic Council's communication network, relaying sensitive information across several star systems. The Eclipse approached the target under full cloak, its presence undetected by the station's security systems. The attack was swift and precise. Within minutes, the relay station was disabled, its communication channels silenced. The Eclipse slipped away as silently as it had arrived, leaving no trace of its involvement. This first strike demonstrated the ship's capabilities and set the stage for the covert campaign. A series of strikes. Encouraged by the success of their initial mission, the Eclipse embarked on a series of surgical strikes against key infrastructure and military installations. The targets were carefully selected for their strategic importance. Each strike was meticulously planned and executed with devastating efficiency. The Eclipse's advanced technology allowed it to remain undetected even as it wreaked havoc on the Galactic Council's critical assets. Energy facility disruption. One mission involved disabling a major energy facility that powered several Council outposts. The Eclipse approached the facility under cloak, its crew working in perfect synchronization. Specialized drones were deployed to sabotage the facility's power grid. Within moments, the outpost went dark, their energy supply cut off. The Eclipse retreated before any alarm could be raised, leaving the affected civilization scrambling to understand what had happened. Military installation attack. Another mission targeted a highly secure military installation known for housing advanced weaponry. The Eclipse's stealth capabilities allowed it to bypass the formidable defenses. Precision strikes disabled the installation's weapon systems and critical infrastructure, rendering it inoperable. The Eclipse disappeared into the void, leaving behind confusion and chaos. Growing panic. With each mission, the confusion and panic among the affected civilizations grew. Reports of unexplained blackouts and disabled facilities spread rapidly. The Galactic Council, still unaware of the Eclipse's existence, struggled to piece together the source of the attacks. Their initial complacency turned to alarm as the scope and precision of the strikes became apparent. A ghostly menace. The once mock-human Superdreadnought had become a ghostly menace, striking fear into the heart of the Council's territories. The effectiveness of the Eclipse's campaign lay not only in its technological superiority, but also in the strategic brilliance of its crew. Captain Mitchell and her team carefully analyzed each target, anticipating potential responses and planning their attacks to maximize disruption while minimizing risk. The campaign continues. The surgical nature of the Eclipse's strikes ensured that their impact was felt far and wide. The Galactic Council, once so confident in its superiority, now faced an invisible enemy that seemed capable of striking anywhere, anytime. The stage was set for a dramatic shift in the balance of power as the Eclipse continued its relentless campaign. The Council's dilemma. The Galactic Council was in turmoil. The sudden and inexplicable attacks on their infrastructure had left them reeling. Their confidence shattered, they scrambled to understand the nature of the threat. As more reports of disruptions poured in, it became clear that they were facing an unprecedented and highly sophisticated adversary. The search for answers. Councillor Thos, who had been one of the most vocal critics of humanity, found himself under intense scrutiny. His previous dismissals of the human threat now seemed dangerously naive. In emergency meetings, he faced questions and accusations from fellow council members. High Commander Var, whose empire had also been targeted, demanded immediate action. Analyzing the attacks. Intelligence agencies across the Council's member civilizations were mobilized to analyze the attacks. Initial theories ranged from rogue factions to advanced AIs, but none seemed to fit the pattern of precision and efficiency displayed by the strikes. As more data was collected, a disturbing possibility began to emerge. The humans might be behind these attacks. A shocking revelation. The notion that humanity, a species so often dismissed and ridiculed, could pose such a significant threat was almost unthinkable. Yet the evidence pointed to advanced cloaking technology and hyperspeed capabilities that matched the rumored specifications of the U.S. Eclipse. The Council's leadership was forced to confront the reality that they had grossly underestimated their adversary. Formulating a response. In response to the growing crisis, the Council convened a series of high-level strategy sessions. The primary objective was to identify and neutralize the source of the attacks. Military readiness was heightened, and defenses around critical installations were reinforced. However, the Council's internal divisions and conflicting priorities hampered their efforts. The human advantage. Unbeknownst to the Council, the U.S. Eclipse's success was not solely due to its technological advancements. The human crew's ability to adapt, innovate, and think creatively under pressure gave them a significant edge. Captain Mitchell and her team continually refined their tactics, staying one step ahead of the Council's attempts to track and counter their movements. A new target. As the Eclipse continued its campaign, Captain Mitchell identified a new target, a major shipyard responsible for producing the Council's most advanced warships. Disabling this facility would not only disrupt the Council's military capabilities, but also deliver a symbolic blow to their confidence. The plan was bold, but the crew's morale was high, driven by their string of successes. The shipyard assault. The assault on the shipyard was meticulously planned. Utilizing their cloaking technology, the Eclipse infiltrated the heavily fortified area. Drones were deployed to plant explosives at critical points, ensuring maximum damage. The attack was executed flawlessly. As the explosions rocked the shipyard, the Eclipse slipped away, leaving destruction and chaos in its wake. The Council's desperation. The destruction of the shipyard sent shockwaves through the Galactic Council. Panic spread as it became clear that their military production capabilities were severely compromised. Desperation set in, and the Council's leaders realized that they were facing an existential threat. Calls for a united and coordinated response grew louder, but distrust and rivalries hindered their efforts. The Eclipse's resolve. Meanwhile, the crew of the Eclipse remained focused on their mission. Each successful strike reinforced their belief in humanity's potential and their determination to change the galaxy's power dynamics. Captain Mitchell knew that their ultimate goal was within reach, and she was prepared to push her crew to the limits to achieve it. Preparing for the final strike. As the Eclipse prepared for its next mission, the stakes had never been higher. The Galactic Council was on the defensive, but their resources and determination could not be underestimated. The next phase of the campaign would be the most challenging yet, requiring all of the crew's skill, ingenuity, and courage. The future of humanity and the galaxy hung in the balance as the U.S. Eclipse moved ever closer to its ultimate objective. The Galactic Council's counterattack. The Galactic Council, reeling from the continuous assaults on their critical infrastructure, was forced to adopt a more aggressive stance. Realizing the sophistication and precision of the attacks, they concluded that humanity, specifically the U.S. Eclipse, was behind the strikes. This realization prompted a swift and intense response. Heightened security. All member civilizations of the Galactic Council were ordered to heighten their security measures. Key installations were fortified, and advanced detection systems were deployed in an attempt to locate the elusive Superdreadnought. The Council's fleets were mobilized, patrolling the most vulnerable sectors with increased vigilance. Strategic Council Meeting. A strategic meeting was convened with the highest-ranking officials of the Galactic Council. Councillor Thos and High Commander Var, once mockers of the human threat, now faced immense pressure to devise an effective counter-strategy. The urgency of the situation demanded immediate and decisive action. Intelligence gathering. The Council's intelligence agencies were tasked with gathering as much information as possible about the U.S. Eclipse and its capabilities. Spies and informants were activated across various star systems, seeking any clues that could lead to the identification and capture of the human Superdreadnought. Despite their efforts, the Eclipse's advanced cloaking technology and hyperspeed capabilities rendered it nearly impossible to track. A coordinated response. High Commander Var proposed a coordinated response to the human threat. His plan involved deploying multiple fleets to key locations, creating a network of traps designed to lure the Eclipse into a vulnerable position. The Council approved the plan, and preparations began immediately. The human crew's next move. Unaware of the Council's countermeasures, Captain Mitchell and her crew continued their campaign. Their next target was a central command station responsible for coordinating the Council's military efforts. Disabling this station would create significant confusion and disrupt the Council's ability to mount an effective defense. The command station attack. The Eclipse approached the command station under full cloak, its crew ready for action. Utilizing their advanced technology, they bypassed the station's defenses and launched a series of precise strikes. Critical systems were disabled, and communication channels were severed. The attack was a resounding success, leaving the command station in disarray. The Council's ambush. However, as the Eclipse prepared to retreat, the crew detected an unusual energy signature. Captain Mitchell realized too late that they had walked into a trap. The Council's fleets, hidden in nearby sectors, converged on the Eclipse's position. The ambush was well coordinated, and the Eclipse found itself surrounded. A desperate escape. Despite the dire situation, Captain Mitchell remained calm. She ordered the crew to engage the Eclipse's hyperspeed capabilities and execute a series of evasive maneuvers. The ship's advanced technology allowed it to slip through the Council's net, but not without sustaining some damage. The crew's quick thinking and resilience were put to the test as they made their escape. The aftermath. The ambush marked a turning point in the conflict. The Galactic Council realized that they could no longer afford to underestimate humanity. The Eclipse's escape, despite the damage it incurred, demonstrated the ship's capabilities and the crew's determination. The Council's leaders knew that capturing the Eclipse was now their top priority. Renewed resolve. For the crew of the Eclipse, the ambush served as a reminder of the challenges they faced. Captain Mitchell and her team assessed the damage and began repairs, knowing that their mission was far from over. The encounter had only strengthened their resolve to see their campaign through to the end. Planning the final assault. With the Council now fully aware of the human threat, the stakes had never been higher. Captain Mitchell knew that their next move had to be decisive. The crew prepared for the final phase of their campaign, targeting the heart of the Galactic Council's power. The future of humanity and the galaxy rested on their shoulders as they prepared for the ultimate confrontation. The turning point. The Galactic Council, having narrowly missed capturing the U.S. Eclipse, intensified their efforts to track and neutralize the human threat. Meanwhile, the crew of the Eclipse, undeterred by the close call, regrouped and prepared for their most audacious mission yet, the Council's intelligence breakthrough. In a stroke of luck, The Council's intelligence agencies intercepted a transmission that provided critical information about the Eclipse's next target. The transmission, although encrypted, contained enough data for the Council to predict the human Superdreadnought's next move. This breakthrough prompted an emergency session of the Council's top strategists. The decoy plan. High Commander VAR proposed an ambitious decoy plan to lure the Eclipse into a trap. By planting false intelligence and creating the illusion of a vulnerable target, the Council aimed to draw the Eclipse into a well-prepared ambush. The plan was risky, but had the potential to end the threat once and for all. The human crew's determination. Captain Mitchell and her crew, unaware of the Council's trap, focused on their mission. Their next target was a major supply depot critical to the Council's logistics network. Disrupting this facility would create significant shortages and weaken the Council's ability to respond to further attacks. Approaching the target. The Eclipse approached the supply depot under full cloak, its crew ready for action. Utilizing their advanced technology, they bypassed the depot's defenses and prepared to strike. However, as they initiated the attack, Captain Mitchell noticed unusual activity on the depot's scanners. The crew quickly realized that something was amiss. The trap is sprung. As the Eclipse launched its attack, the trap was sprung. The Council's fleets, hidden in the surrounding sectors, converged on the depot. The Eclipse found itself surrounded once again, but this time, the Council was prepared for their hyperspeed escape maneuvers. A fierce battle. The ensuing battle was intense. The Eclipse's advanced cloaking and hyperspeed capabilities gave it an edge. But the Council's forces were numerous and well-coordinated. Captain Mitchell ordered evasive maneuvers and counterattacks, pushing the crew to their limits. Despite the overwhelming odds, the Eclipse fought valiantly. A tactical withdrawal. Realizing that they could not win the battle, Captain Mitchell made the difficult decision to execute a tactical withdrawal. The Eclipse's hyperspeed capabilities allowed it to break free from the Council's encirclement, but not without sustaining significant damage. The crew's resilience and quick thinking once again saved them from capture. Assessing the damage, the escape came at a cost. The Eclipse's systems were heavily damaged, and several crew members were injured. Captain Mitchell ordered a full assessment and directed the crew to begin repairs immediately. The ambush had been a harsh reminder of the stakes involved in their mission. The Council's determination. The Council, despite failing to capture the Eclipse, considered the operation a partial success. They had managed to damage the human Superdreadnought and gather valuable intelligence about its capabilities. The Council's leaders were now more determined than ever to eliminate the threat posed by humanity. Planning the final mission. For Captain Mitchell and her crew, the close call reinforced the urgency of their mission. They knew that their next move had to be decisive. The final phase of their campaign was planned with meticulous detail, targeting the very heart of the Galactic Council's power. The ultimate objective. The crew of the Eclipse prepared for the ultimate objective. A daring assault on the Council's central command hub. Success would not only cripple the Council's ability to respond, but also send a powerful message about humanity's strength and determination. The stage was set for a final, epic confrontation that would determine the future of the galaxy. The final assault. The crew of the U.S. Eclipse, now battle-hardened and determined, prepared for their most daring mission yet, an assault on the Galactic Council's central command hub. This target was the nerve center of the Council's military and political operations, and its destruction would be a crippling blow to their ability to maintain control. Final preparations. Captain Sarah Mitchell gathered her senior officers for a final briefing. The plan was complex and required precise coordination. Lieutenant Emily Carter, the chief engineer, assured the captain that the ship's cloaking and hyperspeed systems were fully operational despite the recent damage. Commander Jason Lee, the tactical genius, outlined the attack strategy, emphasizing the importance of timing and precision. The approach. The Eclipse approached the central command hub under full cloak. The hub, located in a heavily fortified sector, was surrounded by multiple layers of defense. Advanced detection systems, patrol fleets, and automated turrets created a nearly impenetrable shield. However, the Eclipse's advanced technology and the crew's expertise gave them a fighting chance. Penetrating the defenses. Utilizing their cloaking technology, the Eclipse slipped past the outer defenses undetected. The crew executed a series of maneuvers to avoid patrols and detection systems. As they neared the hub, Captain Mitchell ordered the deployment of specialized drones to disable key security systems. The plan was working, but the final approach would be the most challenging part. The assault begins. With the hub's outer defenses compromised, the Eclipse launched its assault. Precision strikes targeted critical infrastructure, communications arrays, and defense turrets. The initial attack created chaos and confusion, but the Council's forces quickly mobilized to respond. A fierce battle. The battle that ensued was fierce and intense. The Eclipse's advanced weaponry and cloaking capabilities allowed it to inflict significant damage, but the Council's forces were relentless. Captain Mitchell directed her crew with precision, coordinating strikes and evasive maneuvers to maximize their impact while minimizing exposure. A turning point. As the battle raged on, a turning point emerged. Lieutenant Carter managed to hack into the hub's central systems, creating a temporary disruption in their defensive network. This window of opportunity allowed the Eclipse to launch a decisive strike on the hub's command center. The explosion was massive, and the hub's systems went dark. The aftermath. The destruction of the central command hub was a significant blow to the Galactic Council. The loss of their nerve center created widespread chaos and confusion. The Council's ability to coordinate a unified response was severely compromised, and member civilizations began to question their leadership. The Eclipse's victory. For the crew of the Eclipse, the mission was a resounding success. The destruction of the hub not only crippled the Council's military capabilities, but also sent a powerful message about humanity's strength and determination. Captain Mitchell and her crew had proven that humanity was not to be underestimated. The Council's desperation. In the aftermath of the assault, the Galactic Council was in disarray. Desperation set in as they struggled to regroup and respond to the threat posed by the U.S. Eclipse. The Council's leaders knew that they had to act quickly to prevent further attacks, but their resources were stretched thin. Humanity's resolve. Meanwhile, humanity celebrated the victory. The crew of the Eclipse were hailed as heroes, and their success inspired a renewed sense of unity and determination. Captain Mitchell knew that their mission was far from over, but the tide had turned in humanity's favor. The final push. With the Council on the defensive, the crew of the Eclipse prepared for the final push. Their ultimate goal was within reach, and they were determined to see their campaign through to the end. The stage was set for a final, epic confrontation that would determine the future of the galaxy. The ultimate showdown. The final phase of the campaign was upon them. The crew of the U.S. Eclipse, having struck a decisive blow against the Galactic Council, prepared for the ultimate showdown. Their target, the Council's last remaining stronghold, a heavily fortified citadel that housed the remnants of their leadership. The crew's determination. Captain Sarah Mitchell gathered her crew for one last briefing. The stakes had never been higher, and the crew knew that this mission would determine the future of humanity and the galaxy. Commander Jason Lee outlined the attack plan, emphasizing the importance of precision and coordination. Lieutenant Emily Carter assured the captain that the ship's systems were fully operational and ready for the final assault. Approaching the citadel. The Eclipse approached the citadel under full cloak, its crew ready for the challenge ahead. The citadel, located in a remote and heavily defended sector, was surrounded by multiple layers of defenses. Advanced detection systems, patrol fleets, and automated turrets created a formidable barrier. However, the crew's determination and advanced technology gave them a fighting chance. Penetrating the defenses. Utilizing their cloaking technology, the Eclipse slipped past the outer defenses undetected. The crew executed a series of maneuvers to avoid patrols and detection systems. As they neared the Citadel, Captain Mitchell ordered the deployment of specialized drones to disable key security systems. The plan was working, but the final approach would be the most challenging part. The assault begins. With the Citadel's outer defenses compromised, the Eclipse launched its assault. Precision strikes targeted critical infrastructure, communications arrays, and defense turrets. The initial attack created chaos and confusion, but the Council's forces quickly mobilized to respond. A fierce battle. The battle that ensued was fierce and intense. The Eclipse's advanced weaponry and cloaking capabilities allowed it to inflict significant damage, but the Council's forces were relentless. Captain Mitchell directed her crew with precision, coordinating strikes and evasive maneuvers to maximize their impact while minimizing exposure. A turning point. As the battle raged on, a turning point emerged. Lieutenant Carter managed to hack into the Citadel's central systems, creating a temporary disruption in their defensive network. This window of opportunity allowed the Eclipse to launch a decisive strike on the Citadel's command center. The explosion was massive, and the Citadel's systems went dark. The aftermath. The destruction of the Citadel was a significant blow to the Galactic Council. The loss of their last remaining stronghold created widespread chaos and confusion. The Council's ability to coordinate a unified response was severely compromised, and member civilizations began to question their leadership. The Eclipse's victory. For the crew of the Eclipse, the mission was a resounding success. The destruction of the Citadel not only crippled the Council's military capabilities, but also sent a powerful message about humanity's strength and determination. Captain Mitchell and her crew had proven that humanity was not to be underestimated. The Council's desperation. In the aftermath of the assault, the Galactic Council was in disarray. Desperation set in as they struggled to regroup and respond to the threat posed by the U.S. Eclipse. The Council's leaders knew that they had to act quickly to prevent further attacks, but their resources were stretched thin. Humanity's resolve. Meanwhile, humanity celebrated the victory. The crew of the Eclipse were hailed as heroes, and their success inspired a renewed sense of unity and determination. Captain Mitchell knew that their mission was far from over, but the tide had turned in humanity's favor. The final push. With the Council on the defensive, the crew of the Eclipse prepared for the final push. Their ultimate goal was within reach, and they were determined to see their campaign through to the end. The stage was set for a final epic confrontation that would determine the future of the galaxy.